Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. We continue on this end to expand the conversation, getting reaction to US President Donald Trump's address. Thembisa Fakude, who's director at Africa-Asia Dialogues, expands the conversation with us. A very good evening to you, Thembisa. Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, in listening to what President Donald Trump had to say today, what would you say stood out for you?
Well, I think it was an interesting take. I was particularly interested in caught off guard when he mentioned Mother Luther King and him saying that, of course, Mother Luther King was to make. But I think something is Donald Trump, he has to, of course, heighten his rhetoric on what he's going to be doing. Already 100 decisions or ratifications of the law are going to be made from now on, including the state of emergency in the southern border.
Yeah, and as you talk about that, I'm hoping that the quality of this line will hold. I mean, there was a mix of sharp jabs against the outgoing Democratic administration. And as I was speaking to my colleague Sherwin Bryce-Peace, he was speaking about the details around the planned executive action and what will stand out, and is perhaps what the big question should be around: will executive orders stand the test of legality, which will be an important aspect to explore, as he spoke quite a great deal on trade, immigration and national security, setting the precedent for his upcoming years.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a busy man, but I'm not quite sure what he's going to be able to achieve out of these things I just said.
Yeah.
To put it, the legalities on enacting certain decisions takes time, and the United States is a democratic country that has, procedures and due process. So he might be optimistic about what's going to happen, whether it's in business or expelling illegal immigrants, but that will require due process, and I think he's going to struggle in terms of ensuring that he meets all of the requirements that are needed for him to enact certain decisions that is already announced.
We saw some reaction, like Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu congratulating Trump on his second inauguration, saying that the best days of their alliances are yet to come, as he also thanked Trump for his assistance in brokering Israel's ceasefire and hostage deal with Hamas. How should one interpret this reaction?
Well, that's important. I think Trump is already taking the credit for the ceasefire. One can understand why he has done so. Joe Biden is set with the proposal from May, we're told, and it took Donald Trump less than a couple of days to twist the arm of Benjamin Netanyahu to agree to the ceasefire. So I think it correctly takes that credit, but Joe Biden, of course, will claim that, notwithstanding that the credit goes to Donald Trump, but it's him who drafted that deal. And I think we will see something different. I'm encouraged by the fact that, notwithstanding that Joe Biden has been insistent, or at least telling the world that he's going to be achieving some sort of ceasefire between Israel and Gaza, but it took Trump a couple of days for him to effect this change. And one hopes, of course, that this will bring lasting peace in the Middle East.
What about South Africa? South Africa's ties with Moscow, with Beijing, with Tehran, combined with its legal challenge against Israel at the International Court of Justice. What sort of diplomatic flashpoints do you think it will present when it comes to America, on how America could perceive South Africa?
Well, South Africa was number one. Unfortunately, the president was invited to the inauguration. We had a statement from the presidency that is not the first president that was not invited, but one would have expected that President Cyril Ramaphosa, being the chairperson of G20, would have been invited. So it's going to be a tough one. But at the same time, we see agitation of Trump towards Vladimir Putin. So I think it might just, they might just kiss up and make up in terms of what South Africa was accused of in the past. But I see a relationship established. We know that two ministers, particularly Minister of Trade, Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, Mr. Park Stow, went to the United States soon after he was appointed as a minister to resuscitate a role. We then saw Trump closest ally, Elon Musk, meeting with President Cyril Ramaphosa during the United Nations General Assembly. So the relationship seems to be warming up in favor of South Africa.
Do you think it comes with some sort of advantage that South Africa is chairing the G20?
Yes, I mean, it's prestigious. But again, being chair of a G20, one would have expected that South Africa was going to be invited to the inauguration.
Yeah.
But South Africa wasn't invited. And notwithstanding what I've just said, it suggests that there's something still not entirely correct or right between the two countries. As we speak, President Cyril Ramaphosa is in Geneva on the World Economic Forum. One again wonders how did this happen? The most important event of the year, which is the WEF, coinciding with the inauguration of the most important leader of the world, one will argue. So President Ramaphosa is in the World Economic Forum, and Trump's friends and all his allies are in Washington celebrating his inauguration.
Yeah, very important position there to notify. Thank you so much for speaking to us this evening. Thembisa Fakude, Director at Africa-Asia Dialogues, expanding the question, asking some really critical questions there as we continue to bring you reaction to US President Donald Trump's address and inauguration.